Hi everyone, welcome back to Be Rich. Today I thought I'll talk about Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. These guys are founders of behavioral economics, to say, would be fair enough to say that. And the reason why I want to talk about Daniel Kahneman, yesterday he passed away, and it's a day to remember all what he had shared with us. And I honestly feel he should be remembered as a very important figure for any value investor, because he is a guy who opened the door for us to realize that machines, they're not mathematical equations, but markets is about social science. It's about human behavior and how humans react to information and news. And now it might seem very logical to think about it like that. But there was a time, believe it or not, 60, 70 years ago, when economists did not believe it to be so. They believed all human beings made only rational decisions, that there was no irrationality in our decisions, especially when it comes to investing and money, that we tend to be even more rational and we'll shy away from anything that's irrational. Now we know that is not true. And we understand this because of Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. So, what is the first theory which they came out with in 1969? It is the prospect theory. The prospect theory is very simple. It defines the notion which now we take for granted, that a pain is felt a lot more than a gain. That means, let's say you have 100 rupees and that 100 rupees becomes 200 rupees. The joy you feel is far less than when that 200 rupees becomes back to 100 rupees. Though the transformation is equal, but the emotions felt are far more different. And that is the prospect theory. And we have all suffered this, especially a lot of you are asking me about IDFC and IDFC First Bank, and the arbitrage you were seeing before and the arbitrage you're seeing now. The percentage points have changed, and today, especially because of the block deal, IDFC First Bank corrected by, I think, 3% initially, then it's 2.5% now. So I can understand what you're feeling, and that what you're feeling is the prospect theory. And these guys have framed it and they wrote it, and they even won a Nobel Prize for all this work which they did. And I think it's a fun, wonderful thing to remember, the prospect theory. The second thing which they talked about, which is very important, is heuristics and biases. Heuristics are shortcuts we make in our brain, and which helps us live life in a more efficient manner. For example, when you drive the car and you learn how to drive, start programming your mind into how the clutch works, the brake works, and every time when you sit down, you don't need to revise it. You know how basically traffic works. You're able to judge on which side of the road cars come, which side of the road you should be on, and those slowly form into patterns of behavior and habits, and those biases stay to you. Like when you see any kind of vehicle on the road, you know how to react. But we take the same kind of heuristics and biases and we start putting them into places where it should not go, which is when it comes to our own risk assessment. We take examples, and however easily these examples come to us, we start forming biases and patterns, and we start believing that to be true. And this can skew your risk assessment and what you believe to be true, putting you in deeper waters than you actually intend to be in. So this is another thing human mind does, which our behavioral patterns do. Though it makes sense when we are in the savannah, way back in those days when we were hunter-gatherers trying to live life, having these kind of heuristics and biases helped us to prevent any form of accident or death happening to us. At the same time, using the same kind of heuristics and biases in today's world, when it comes to investing especially, can be leading us down a path which we don't want to go. So this is what they helped us understand and explain. Third thing which they did is known as the framing effect. So framing effect is how we look at a situation and assume what the outcome of the situation is going to be. If it is going to be a loss or a gain, and based on that, we make our decisions and choices, even if the result at the end is the same. So framing effect is something which we do a lot with each other. Advertising companies and marketing companies use this very well on us, and we should be something we should be aware of and pay attention to, that we don't fall into the notion of a framing effect. This is another thing they helped us understand. This is number 3. 4 is known as anchoring effect. Anchoring is, we hear this first piece of information, we form an opinion on that, and we anchor onto that, and we find it very hard to remove ourselves from that, and we stay fixated on this. This is true in all aspects of life. But in terms of investing, what happens is, we buy, let's say, ITC at a certain price and we're anchored to that price. And then we find it very hard to buy ITC at a higher price because we are anchored to the lower price. Though it is still at a value buy at a higher price because the earnings have gone up, the markets have changed. We tend to anchor ourselves saying, no, I bought it at 100 rupees. I need to, anything I buy more than that, I'm be making a loss, because you have this false notion of being anchored to a price. So this is what anchoring effect is. You see anchoring effect in all other aspects of life too. When we hear the first information of someone joins an office, someone comes and says, hey, I know this guy, and they give you an opinion about that guy, we tend to anchor ourselves into that, especially if the person who's giving the information is someone we trust and we find reliable. We forget they're also humans and they also have biases. We just think, okay, whatever they say, we take it verbatim and think that to be true. And we anchor ourselves. This is how it happens in regular everyday settings. The fifth one, which I want to talk about, which Kahneman talks about, is overconfidence. This happens when we research into a subject and we start to get more and more confident in it. And as we get more and more confidence, our objectivity and our accuracy starts going wayward, and that leads to overestimation of our own ability and our knowledge and control over the events, and we start overextending ourselves more than we should. This is true in every single form in life. We have seen this in sportsmen. We have seen batsmen getting overconfident in getting out. We have seen people being overconfident about election results and losing. Now we also know about being overconfident in investing and losing. So the only way to combat overconfidence is to keep what Zen they call beginner's mind. Is always to tell yourself you're learning and you'll always be learning all your life. And to tell yourself there's no other way but to keep learning and you know nothing. By telling yourself this repeatedly as a mantra in your head, you can tend to lower the effects of overconfidence. It will not work all the time because of heuristics and biases, and us being human. Our ego kicks in and we all tend to switch over into our base pattern of behavior and we believe that to be true. So tending to bring awareness into all this kind of situations helps us mitigate the effects of prospect bias, heuristic biases, framing effect, and anchoring and overconfidence. So this is what Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky were doing. It's a wonderful book if you have not read it. His book, Thinking Fast and Slow. Thinking Fast and Slow is a wonderful book. It explores these things in great detail. I highly recommend that you read this book. It's a big book. It's not a small book. It's not something you can do over a weekend unless you're a speed reader. But it's the kind of book I would suggest that you go back and forth in. You don't have to take the book and read it at one shot the entire length. It's not like a novel. It's more like you'll read some of it and you'll find something that strikes a chord and then allow yourself to think about it and let it stew in your mind for a while before you move on. And reading bits and pieces like this and finding someone to read it along with is even better, because then you can discuss the ideas which are there in the book, and those ideas can, by discussion, lead to more inner truths to yourself and the person you share with. Anyway, it's a day to remember him. He passed away. He was 90 years old. And do go Google about him and find out more information about him. It is really wonderful to read more about him and his life and his friendship with Amos. And nothing more to say than this. Thanks for watching the video today, guys. And I'll see you in the next one soon. Bye.
It's a great privilege and honor that so many of you in thousands have subscribed to my channel and have supported me. I have written 2 books in English, The Alchemy of Money and Ordinary Stocks, Extraordinary Profits. These books are published by us and are ready. If you want to procure a copy, send us a message to the WhatsApp number given below and my team would respond to you. If you want an Amazon Kindle copy, you can click the link below. Finally, those who wish to consult with me can send a mail to berichenglish@gmail.com. Once again, I thank you for your support. If you like this video, press the subscribe button of my channel, hit the like button and turn on the bell notification.